Much of the mathematical and scientific framework used globally today traces back to a specific 200-year window in ancient India. Between 320 and 550 CE, scholars working under the Gupta dynasty standardized the decimal system, introduced the zero, and calculated the Earth's rotation. This intellectual output followed a long period of political fragmentation. After the fall of the Kushana Empire, northern India was a landscape of warring tribes and small isolated kingdoms. The Gupta family ended this fragmentation by establishing a centralized administrative framework that unified these disparate regions, creating the stability necessary for scholars and artisans to exchange ideas. This unification began with material control. Chandragupta I utilized the fertile plains of the Ganges Basin and a strategic marriage alliance with the Lichavis to secure the agricultural surplus needed to feed a growing imperial bureaucracy. This economic base allowed them to exploit the iron ore deposits of central India. They achieved a level of metallurgical precision, evidenced by the Mehrauli iron pillar, which remains largely uncorroded after 16 centuries. With these physical resources secured, the Gupta court transitioned its focus toward building the administrative and intellectual infrastructure of the empire. During his reign, Samudragupta expanded the empire's influence through a policy of political conciliation. In the south, he defeated local kings and then immediately reinstated them as subordinate rulers rather than annexing their lands directly. This map shows the resulting structure. The central Indo-Gangetic Basin, highlighted here, was governed directly by the administration. The surrounding states operated under suzerainty, managing their own affairs while providing the central court with tribute and military support. This decentralized model reduced the frequency of internal rebellions and allowed the central government to focus on domestic reforms, including the development of a sophisticated legal code that clearly separated civil and criminal law. By delegating local governance and standardizing the law, the Guptas established a period of internal peace that lasted for generations. Economic activity was further integrated by the introduction of standardized gold currency. These coins circulated across the empire's network of feudatory states, facilitating large-scale trade and tax collection. The imperial court used these coins for public imagery, depicting the emperor as a practitioner of the arts, like playing the lute, rather than a conqueror. This domestic stability supported an expanding maritime trade network. Indian merchants established Indian Ocean routes, exchanging textiles and spices with Asia and the Roman Empire. The revenue from these global trade links provided the central court with the capital to fund an expansive patronage system for scientists, poets, and architects. The state allocated wealth to construct university complexes like Nalanda. These institutions functioned as international research hubs, drawing students from across the continent. In these centers, the mathematician Aryabhata calculated a high-precision approximation of pi and correctly identified that the Earth rotates on its axis. Advances in medicine were equally significant. Scholars compiled comprehensive treatises on anatomy, surgical techniques, and herbal remedies that became foundational texts in Ayurveda. Literature reached a peak under royal patronage, most notably through the playwright Kalidasa. His Sanskrit works were preserved for centuries on these palm leaf manuscripts. The court's religious tolerance encouraged a blend of diverse artistic styles. This is visible in the Ajanta cave murals, depicting narratives with high technical skill. This era of achievement was the result of a state system that purposefully funded multiple disciplines, from astrophysics to poetry, within a stable, wealthy environment. The system that enabled this growth eventually encountered a structural crisis. As the empire's gold reserves depleted, the central government began paying its officers and priests with land grants instead of currency. This shift toward feudalism gave local landlords the authority to collect their own taxes and administer their own lands. Over time, these smaller, decentralized nodes gained power at the expense of the central imperial hub. This internal fragmentation weakened the empire's collective defense. When the Hunas, a nomadic group from Central Asia, launched sustained invasions in the 5th century, the central authority could no longer effectively repulse them. The same decentralized structure that once provided regional stability ultimately led to political disintegration. By 550 CE, the Gupta Empire had collapsed into a series of smaller regional kingdoms. In the centuries following the collapse, regional powers like the Pushyabhutis, Chalukyas, and Pallavas emerged. These successor states adopted the Gupta model of patronage. They continued to fund monumental stone architecture and Sanskrit literature, ensuring that the cultural standards established by the Guptas remained the benchmark for Indian civilization. Beyond India, the scientific and mathematical breakthroughs of this era were translated and traded along the Silk Road, later serving as key inputs for the Islamic Golden Age and the mathematical developments of the European Renaissance. While the Gupta borders eventually dissolved, the mathematical and scientific systems they standardized remained in use across Eurasia for the next 1,000 years.